The signal reached the Caltharian Empire on a Tuesday morning, though the aliens who received it did not count their days the same way humans did. The message was simple, transmitted in basic mathematical sequences that any spacefaring civilization could understand. It said, "We are humanity. We come in peace. We wish to talk." In the grand throne room of the Imperial Palace, Emperor Vexthor sat on his crystal seat and laughed. Around him, his council members joined in the laughter. They had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They controlled 847 star systems. They had seen hundreds of primitive species take their first steps into faster-than-light travel. This was nothing new. "Another one," Vexthor said, his voice echoing through the massive hall. "How many does this make, Overseer Dalmon?" Dalmon stepped forward and bowed. He was tall, even for a Caltharian, with blue-gray skin and 3 eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. "This is the 53rd new species to contact us in the last century, my Emperor." "And where are they located?" "A small system on the outer edge of the Orion Arm, Excellency. They call their world Earth. It orbits a yellow star. Nothing special about it." The Emperor waved his hand dismissively. "Send them our standard terms, 60% taxation on all resources. Their young males will serve in our military. They will accept imperial governors. The usual arrangement." Dalmon hesitated. "Should we send a diplomatic envoy first, my lord, to study them?" Vexthor's 3 eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning my judgment, Overseer?" "No, Excellency. Forgive me." Dalmon bowed deeper this time. "Good. Take a garrison fleet. Show them our power. If they are wise, they will accept immediately. If not..." The Emperor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Make an example of one of their colonies. Nothing teaches respect like ashes." Dalmon left the throne room and prepared his fleet, 89 warships, each 1 kilometer long and bristling with plasma cannons. It was more than enough to crush any resistance. He had done this many times before. New species always followed the same pattern. First, they were excited to meet other intelligent life. Then, they saw the Empire's might and understood their place in the universe. Finally, they bowed their heads and accepted their fate. On Earth, the message from the Caltharian Empire arrived 30 days after humanity's first transmission. The world leaders gathered in Geneva, in the Great Hall of the United Terran Coalition. Representatives from every nation sat in the circular chamber, their faces projected on screens for those who attended virtually. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the center podium and read the Empire's demands. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she held the data tablet. "They want 60% of everything we produce," she said. "They want our children to fight in their wars. They want to put their governors in charge of our planets, and they give us 30 days to agree." The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates shouted in anger. Others argued for caution. A few sat in stunned silence. President Morrison of the North American Federation spoke first. "How many ships do they have?" "Our telescopes detected 89 warships entering Neptune's orbit," answered General Zhao from the Military Council. "Each one is massive, far larger than anything we have built." "Can we fight them?" Morrison asked. General Zhao looked uncomfortable. "We have 340 ships in our defense fleet, but their technology appears more advanced. Our analysts estimate we would lose any direct battle." "Then we have no choice," said Chancellor Adeyemi of the African Union. "We must accept their terms. At least we will survive." Ambassador Chen Wei slammed her hand on the podium. "Survive as slaves? Is that what we fought for? Is that why we united after World War III? So we could bow to the first bully who threatens..." "Hush! Be realistic, Ambassador," said Prime Minister Tanaka of the Pacific Alliance. "Look at history. When a superior force meets an inferior one, the weaker side always loses. Always." "History?" Chen Wei's voice rose. "Our history is full of underdogs who won against impossible odds. We are humans. We survived ice ages. We survived pandemics. We survived nuclear war. And now you want to give up without even trying?" The debate raged for hours. In the end, they called for a vote. Every human being over the age of 16 could cast their decision through the global network. The question was simple. Accept the Empire's terms or refuse and fight. The world held its breath for 24 hours as votes were counted. When the results came in, 68% had voted to refuse. Admiral Marcus Rivera sat in his office on the moon base, staring at the voting results on his screen. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. He had commanded the Terran Defense Fleet for 8 years. In that time, he had prepared for this exact moment. He pressed the communication button on his desk. Admiral Rivera to all fleet commanders. Execute Protocol Defiant. I repeat, execute Protocol Defiant. Across the solar system, 340 ships began moving into position. Some hid in the asteroid belt. Others positioned themselves near Jupiter's moons. A few remained visible near Earth, ready to draw the enemy's attention. In the Seridar, Darkness Between Stars, Overseer Dalmon received humanity's response. He read it twice, unable to believe what he was seeing. They refused, he said to his second officer. These primitives actually refused? Yes, Overseer. They sent a message saying they will defend their freedom. Dalmon felt a mixture of anger and something else. Was it respect? No, that was impossible. They were just another primitive species that did not understand their place. Set course for Earth, he commanded. All ships, combat formation. We will show them what happens when you defy the Caltharian Empire. The fleet began its journey toward the Sol system. Dalmon expected the battle to last a few hours at most. He had no idea that he was about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, Admiral Rivera watched the approaching fleet on his tactical display. Beside him, Dr. Sarah Okonkwo checked her instruments one final time. All systems ready, Admiral, she said quietly. Rivera nodded. Then let them come. It is time to show the galaxy what humanity can do. The countdown to war had begun. Admiral Marcus Rivera walked through the memorial hall, his footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The walls were covered with names. Millions of names. Every person who died in World War III. He stopped at one section and placed his hand against the cold stone. His daughter's name was there. Sarah Rivera, age 9, dead in the nuclear fire that consumed São Paulo. That was 200 years ago, but humanity never forgot. The war had started over resources, oil, water, rare earth metals. Nation fought nation, alliance fought alliance. For 15 years the world burned. Nuclear weapons turned cities into glass. Biological weapons created plagues. When it finally ended, only 3 billion humans remained out of 10 billion. In the ashes of that nightmare, something changed. The survivors looked at what they had done and made a choice. Never again. Not to each other. The United Terran Coalition was born from that promise. Every nation kept its culture, its language, its identity. But they shared everything else: technology, resources, knowledge. And they prepared for the next threat, because humanity learned a hard lesson. The universe was dangerous. If they could almost destroy themselves, what could beings from other worlds do to them? Rivera left the memorial and returned to his command center. The room was deep beneath the lunar surface, protected by hundreds of meters of rock and steel. Screens covered every wall, showing data from across the solar system. Status report, he said as he entered. Commander Jackson looked up from her console. She was younger than Rivera, only 35, but she had trained her whole life for this. The Caltharian fleet is 3 days away, sir. They are not trying to hide. They want us to see them coming. Good. That means they are confident. Confident enemies make mistakes. Rivera sat in his command chair and brought up tactical displays. What about our assets? All ships in position. The asteroid belt network is online. Earth's orbital platforms are ready. Mars and Titan bases report full readiness. Rivera nodded and opened a private channel. Dr. Okonkwo, please report to the command center. 5 minutes later, Dr. Sarah Okonkwo arrived. She was a small woman with dark skin and bright, intelligent eyes. She carried a data tablet covered in equations that would confuse most people. But Rivera understood them. He had worked with her for years. Show me what we have, he said. Sarah smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment. Project Thunderbolt is ready, Admiral. All 600,000 units. She pulled up a hologram showing Earth's solar system. Small red dots filled the space between planets, concentrated heavily in the asteroid belt. Each unit is a drone, no bigger than a car. They have one purpose: to accelerate to 0.3 light speed and hit whatever we point them at. Kinetic missiles, Rivera said. Exactly. The Empire uses energy shields designed to stop plasma and laser weapons, but shields are not very good against solid objects moving at relativistic speeds. Each drone hits with the force of a nuclear bomb. Rivera studied the display. And the railguns? Mounted on every ship. We borrowed the idea from old Earth navies. Instead of firing explosive shells, we fire solid metal slugs using electromagnetic acceleration. Our largest cannons can fire a projectile at 0.5 light speed. Commander Jackson whistled.
How much damage does that do?
We tested it last year on an abandoned asteroid, Sarah said. A 1-kilogram slug punched completely through 5 kilometers of solid rock. The enemy's hull armor will not stop it. Rivera turned to another display. This one showed humanity's warships. They looked different from the sleek Caltharian vessels. Human ships were ugly practical things. Lots of armor. Lots of guns. No wasted space on decoration. Tell me about the AI network, Rivera said. Sarah's expression became serious. This is our biggest advantage, Admiral. Every human ship is connected through quantum communication. Our AI system processes data from all sensors simultaneously. It predicts enemy movements before they happen. It coordinates all our ships as if they were one organism. The Empire does not have this. No, they use individual ship computers. Each captain makes their own decisions. It makes them predictable. Rivera leaned back in his chair. He thought about the 89 ships coming toward Earth. Each one was bigger and probably more powerful than his ships. But power was not everything. Intelligence mattered. Strategy mattered. And most of all, desperation mattered. There is one more thing, Sarah said quietly. The gravity issue. Explain it to the commander, Rivera said. Sarah turned to Jackson. We analyzed their ship designs from the probe data. Everything about them suggests they evolved on low-gravity worlds. Probably 0.4 or 0.5 Earth gravity, so? Jackson asked. So humans evolved in one full gravity. Our bones are stronger. Our muscles are denser. Our hearts are more powerful. When we started space travel, we had to overcome Earth's strong gravity. It made our rockets powerful, our engineering robust. And them, they never had that challenge. Their ships accelerate slowly. Their maneuvers are gentle, and we think their pilots cannot survive high-G combat turns. Rivera stood up and walked to the main display showing Earth. The planet turned slowly, blue and white and beautiful. Somewhere down there his grandchildren lived. They were the reason he would not surrender. How long have we been preparing for this? He asked the room. Since the Mars colony was established, Commander Jackson answered. 150 years. And how many simulations have we run? 47,000 different scenarios, Sarah said. We have planned for first contact with hostile aliens since before any of us were born. Rivera thought about that. 47,000 simulations. Generations of scientists, engineers, and military officers working toward this moment. After World War III, humanity promised never to be unprepared again. While they sent peaceful messages to the stars, they built weapons in secret. Just in case, what are our chances? Jackson asked. Rivera was quiet for a moment. Honestly, unknown. We have never fought aliens before. All our simulations are based on assumptions. But I know one thing about humanity. We are survivors. We adapt, we overcome, and we never, ever give up. He pressed a button and opened a fleet-wide channel. Across the solar system, 340 captains heard his voice. This is Admiral Rivera to all commanders. In 72 hours, the Caltharian Empire will reach our home. They expect us to surrender. They think we are weak because we are new to space. They do not know our history. They do not know what we survived to get here. They do not know that every human ship was built by people who remember the war, who remember what happens when we fail to defend ourselves. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. Our ancestors nearly destroyed themselves fighting over pieces of one planet. We learned from that mistake. We united, we prepared. And now we face our first test as a species. Show them what humanity is capable of. Show them why you do not threaten our home. All ships prepare for combat operations. Protocol Defiant is now active. Across the solar system, human ships powered up their weapons, railguns charged, missile tubes loaded, drone swarms activated, and 340 captains smiled grimly, ready for the battle that would decide humanity's future. Overseer Dalamon had no idea what was waiting for him. The Caltharian fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 89 warships dropped back into normal space near Neptune's orbit, their shields glowing with contained energy. On the bridge of his flagship, Overseer Dalamon studied the tactical display with satisfaction. No resistance ships detected, his sensor officer reported. We are reading primitive satellites and space stations, but no military vessels. Dalamon nodded. This was normal. New species always hid their fleets near their homeworld, hoping their planet's defenses would protect them. It never worked. Set course for the third planet, Earth, standard approach speed. I want them to see us coming. The fleet began its journey inward past the gas giants, past the asteroid belt. They moved slowly, deliberately. Dalamon had learned that showing overwhelming force often prevented battles entirely. Fear was a weapon as powerful as plasma cannons. 2 days later, the fleet reached Mars orbit. Still no sign of human ships, Overseer, his communication officer said. We are receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it on screen. An older human male appeared wearing some kind of military uniform. His face was weathered, his eyes hard. I am Admiral Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have entered our space without permission. Turn back now. Dalamon laughed. His officers joined him. I am Overseer Dalamon of the Caltharian Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Deploy your ships where we can see them. Power down your weapons. Prepare to receive Imperial governors. This is your final warning. Rivera's expression did not change. You picked the wrong species to threaten. You have 1 hour to leave our system. This is your final warning. The transmission ended. Dalamon's laughter died. Did he just threaten us? I believe so, Overseer, his second officer said quietly. Impossible. They must be insane. Dalamon stood up from his command chair. Continue toward Earth combat formation. Prepare all weapons. When we reach their moon, we will demonstrate what happens to species who defy the Empire. The fleet moved forward. They passed the orbit of Earth's moon. Still no human ships appeared. Dalamon began to feel uneasy. Where were they? Overseer, the sensor officer suddenly shouted. Multiple contacts. Behind us. The tactical display exploded with red markers. 50 human ships had appeared from the asteroid belt, emerging from behind the floating rocks where they had been hiding. They accelerated rapidly, far faster than any Caltharian ship could move. How did they hide from our sensors? Dalamon demanded. Unknown, sir. They must have some kind of stealth technology. The human ships opened fire. Dalamon expected plasma bolts or missile launches. Instead, the human weapons were almost invisible. No bright energy beams, no glowing projectiles, just impacts. The ship directly to his left suddenly had a hole punched through its center. The hole was perfectly round, as if a giant drill had gone through the vessel from front to back. The ship's reactor exploded a moment later. What was that? Dalamon screamed. Kinetic weapons, Overseer! They are firing solid projectiles at extreme velocity. More impacts. More holes. The Caltharian shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did almost nothing against physical objects moving at a significant fraction of light speed. It was like trying to stop a bullet with a flashlight. Return fire. All ships, return fire. The Caltharian plasma cannons began firing back. Beautiful streams of superheated gas lanced through space toward the human ships. Several hits connected and Dalamon saw human shields flare and fail. 2 human ships exploded, but the humans did not slow down. They kept coming, kept firing, and their accuracy was terrifying. Every shot seemed to hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. How are they coordinating so perfectly? They are using some kind of network targeting system, his tactical officer reported, reading Dalamon's thoughts. All their ships are sharing sensor data. They are predicting our movements. A human destroyer flew past the flagship's view screen, so close that Dalamon could see it clearly. It was ugly compared to Caltharian ships. All sharp angles and exposed weapons. No elegant curves. But it moved like a dancer, spinning and twisting in ways that should be impossible. They are pulling 15 gravities on that turn, his navigator said in shock. Our pilots would die from that acceleration. Then what are they? No one had an answer. The humans seemed to treat extreme acceleration as normal. Their ships twisted and turned with impossible agility, while Caltharian vessels moved in gentle arcs, limited by their crew's biological tolerance. The battle continued for another hour. Dalaman's fleet outnumbered the humans, and Caltharian plasma cannons were destroying human ships. But for every human vessel that fell, 3 Caltharian ships died. The mathematics were terrible. "Overseer, we have lost 42 ships," his second officer reported. His voice was shaking. "The humans have lost only 12. Dalmon stared at the tactical display in disbelief. This was not how battles worked. Superior numbers always won. Superior technology always won. But the humans were winning through speed, coordination, and weapons the Empire had never anticipated. "All ships activate emergency protocol. Jump to faster than light on my mark." "Sir!" "Sensors are detecting thousands of new contacts." The display updated. Swarms of small objects were emerging from hiding spots throughout the solar system. They were everywhere. In the asteroid belt. Behind Earth's moon. Near Mars, tens of thousands of them. "What are those?" Dalmon whispered. "Analysis shows they are unmanned drones, Overseer. They are accelerating toward us." The drones move fast. Much faster than any crewed ship could safely move. They accelerated at 50 gravities, then 100, then more. Each one was small, barely 3 meters long. But there were so many of them, and they were so fast. The first wave hit the Caltharian fleet 30 seconds later. Each drone was simple. Just an engine, a guidance system, and mass. When they hit at 30% light speed, they released energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. The Caltharian shields could stop the first impact, maybe the second. But when 20 drones hit the same ship in 5 seconds, nothing could withstand it. Ships began exploding everywhere. The fleet formation collapsed as captains tried desperately to evade the swarms. But there was nowhere to go. The drones came from every direction. Dalmon watched his fleet die. He had commanded these ships for 20 years. He knew every captain, and now he was watching them die because he underestimated a species he knew nothing about. "Overseer, we must retreat," his second officer begged. "We have lost 60 ships, 70, 80. Dalmon's hands shook as he gripped his command chair. The Empire had not lost a battle in 3,000 years. This was impossible, but it was happening. "All ships," he said, his voice hollow. "Emergency jump. Scatter pattern. Retreat to the rally point." The few surviving Caltharian ships activated their faster-than-light drives. Dalaman's flagship was the last to jump. As the ship prepared to leave normal space, he took one final look at the tactical display. The human fleet was reforming, regrouping. They had lost 18 ships. The Caltharians had lost 84, and Earth still stood, untouched. The flagship jumped to FTL and the Sol system disappeared behind them. Admiral Rivera stood in his command center, watching the last enemy ship vanish from sensors. The room was silent. No one cheered. They had won, but the cost was visible on every screen. 18 ships destroyed, 3,000 sailors dead, another 5,000 wounded. "Status of our defensive systems?" Rivera asked quietly. 70% of drone swarms expended, Commander Jackson reported. Railgun ammunition at 40%. "All surviving ships report damage, but none are unable to fight." Rivera nodded slowly. They had won the first battle. But he knew this was not the end. This was just the beginning. The Empire would not accept this defeat. They would come back with more ships, more anger, more determination. "Send a message to all human colonies," he ordered. "Tell them we won. Tell them we survived. And tell them to prepare. The Empire will return, and next time they will bring everything they have." He looked at Earth on the main screen. His homeworld. Still safe. Still free. For now. Emperor Vexthor threw the data tablet across the throne room. It shattered against the crystal wall, pieces scattering across the polished floor. His 3 eyes blazed with fury as he stared at the surviving members of Dalmon's fleet. 84 ships, he hissed. "You lost 84 ships to a primitive species that barely learned to travel between stars." The officers bowed low, their bodies trembling. No one dared to speak. "And you?" Vexthor turned to Dalmon, who stood apart from the others in disgrace. "You commanded this disaster. Give me one reason why I should not execute you right now." Dalmon kept his head bowed. "I have none, Excellency. I underestimated them. I believed they would be like every other species we have conquered." "I was wrong." "Wrong?" Vexthor's laugh was cold. "Wrong is miscalculating a star's position. Wrong is arriving late to a meeting. What you did was lead our fleet into a massacre. The Empire has not suffered such a defeat in 3,000 years. He paced back and forth, his robes sweeping the floor. The council members watched in silence. They all knew what was coming. The Emperor's rage had to be satisfied. Send word to Grand Admiral Keshvar, Vexthor finally said. Tell him to assemble the 5th Assault Fleet. 800 ships. I want these humans wiped from existence. Destroy their colonies. Burn their stations. Turn their homeworld into a graveyard. An older council member stepped forward cautiously. Excellency, 800 ships is nearly a quarter of our entire navy. What if the other species see this as weakness? What if they sense opportunity? Vexthor turned his burning gaze on the counselor. Then we will crush them too. But first, humanity must die. They have humiliated the Empire. That cannot stand. Grand Admiral Keshvar received his orders while inspecting the shipyards at the Empire's capital. He was an old warrior, scarred from 100 battles. Unlike many in the Empire's military, he had earned his rank through combat, not politics. He studied the battle recordings from the Sol system carefully. He watched them dozens of times, analyzing every movement, every tactic. What he saw disturbed him deeply. The humans fought like nothing he had seen before. They used weapons the Empire considered primitive, but they used them with devastating effectiveness. Their coordination was perfect. Their aggression was shocking, and most troubling of all, they showed no fear. They know they cannot win, he said to his second-in-command. They must know that the Empire can bring thousands of ships. Yet they fought as if victory was certain. Perhaps they are simply ignorant, Admiral. No, Keshvar said slowly. I have fought ignorant enemies. They panic when they realize they are outmatched. These humans did not panic. They had a plan, and they executed it perfectly. That means they believe they can win. The question is why. He assembled his fleet at the rally point, 3 systems away from human space. 800 ships, the largest offensive fleet the Empire had launched in centuries. Enough firepower to sterilize a dozen planets. But Keshvar was cautious. He sent scout ships ahead. He studied the approaches to human territory. And he watched for traps. Admiral Rivera knew they were coming before the scout ships even entered the outer system. Humanity's early warning network, spread across 50 light-years, detected the Empire's movements. 800 ships, Commander Jackson said, staring at the long-range sensor data. We are outnumbered 3-1 now. Even with our advantages, we cannot win a direct battle. Rivera agreed. The Battle of Luna had worked because they surprised the enemy, but surprise only worked once. Now the Empire knew what humanity could do. They would be prepared. Then we do not fight a direct battle, Rivera said. We fight the way the weak have always fought the strong. We make it too expensive for them to continue. He called a meeting of all fleet commanders. The holographic conference room filled with the faces of humanity's best military minds. Some were young in their 30s. Others were veterans like Rivera, gray-haired and scarred. Operation Hornet's Nest, Rivera said, displaying a tactical map. We split the fleet into 50 small strike groups. Each group has 6 to 8 ships. Fast, mobile, unpredictable. Hit-and-run tactics, one captain said. Exactly. The Empire's fleet is massive, but mass is also weakness. They need supply lines, fuel, ammunition, food for their crews. We attack those supplies. We hit their communication relays so they cannot coordinate. We ambush isolated squadrons. We never give them the pitched battle they want. They will call it cowardice, another captain said. Rivera's expression hardened. Let them. We are fighting for survival, not honor. If cowardice keeps Earth free, then I will be the biggest coward in the galaxy. The plan went into effect immediately. Humanity's fleet scattered like seeds in the wind, spreading across a dozen systems. Each strike group operated independently, choosing its own targets, its own timing. The war changed. Grand Admiral Keshvar entered the Proxima Centauri system with confidence. His fleet was overwhelming, but within hours, everything went wrong. A human strike group hit his supply convoy, destroying 3 transport ships before vanishing into the asteroid field. Another group attacked his communication relay station at the edge of the system. A third appeared near his main fleet, fired a barrage of missiles, then jumped to FTL before his ships could respond. Find them, Keshvar ordered.
Deploy all scout ships.
I want these raiders hunted down. But finding the human ships was like trying to catch smoke. They appeared, struck, and vanished. The Empire's massive fleet was too slow to respond. By the time Keshvar's forces reached an attack site, The humans were gone. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The hit-and-run attacks continued without pause. Caltharian crews, unused to prolonged warfare, began showing signs of stress. They slept poorly, jumped at shadows, questioned every sensor contact, and slowly, inevitably, they began making mistakes. A squadron of 20 Caltharian ships pursued a human strike group into an asteroid field. The humans had only 4 ships and appeared to be fleeing in panic. The Caltharian commander ordered full pursuit. It was a trap. Hidden in the asteroids were 50 more human ships and 10,000 drones. The Caltharian squadron was destroyed in minutes. Only one ship escaped to report what happened. HFY stared at the casualty reports. In 3 months of fighting, he had lost 200 ships. The humans had lost maybe 30. This was not war. This was being bled to death by 1,000 cuts. Admiral, his intelligence officer said hesitantly, "We have intercepted human communications. They are calling this kind of warfare guerrilla tactics. Apparently, they used it extensively in their pre-space era wars. Explain. When a weaker force cannot defeat a stronger one directly, they make the war too costly to continue. They attack supply lines, avoid major battles, and drag out the conflict until the stronger side gives up." HFY felt a chill run through him. "And did it work? In human history?" "Often, yes, sir." The Grand Admiral looked at his fleet dispositions. 800 ships had seemed overwhelming 3 months ago. Now he had only 600 operational vessels, and the humans showed no signs of stopping. He made a decision. One final attempt to force a decisive battle. He would lure them out with bait they could not resist. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "We are going to attack their colony at Proxima Centauri, the established one with 2 million civilians. They will have to defend it." The trap was set. HFY took 200 ships to Proxima Centauri and began orbital bombardment preparations. He made sure the humans could see what he was doing. "Come and stop me," he thought. "Come and fight." And they came. 30 human ships appeared in the system, accelerating hard toward his fleet. HFY smiled. Finally, a real battle. He had them outnumbered nearly 7-1. All ships engaged the enemy. No mercy. But as the battle began, HFY realized something was wrong. The humans were not trying to flee. They were not positioning defensively. Instead, they were moving toward the system's star. "What are they doing?" his tactical officer wondered. HFY's eyes widened in horror as he understood. "They are using the star's radiation to power their weapons. All ships withdraw. Get away from the star. Too late." The humans had deployed massive solar collectors near the star during their months of guerrilla warfare. Now those collectors fed energy into directed energy weapons built in secret on the colony's surface. Beams of concentrated stellar energy lanced through space. The energy was enormous, powered by the star itself. Caltharian shields overloaded and failed. Ships melted under the assault. The 200 ships became 150, then 100. The humans lost 12 ships in the battle, but they saved their colony. HFY ordered the retreat. As his fleet jumped to FTL, he knew the truth. The Empire could not win this war. Not like this. Not against an enemy that fought with such creativity, such determination, such absolute refusal to surrender. For the first time in his long military career, Grand Admiral HFY wondered if peace might be the only option. The emergency council meeting was called at midnight, Caltharian Standard Time. The great chamber filled with council members from across the Empire, many attending through holographic projection. Their faces showed worry, anger, and something the Empire had not felt in millennia: fear. Emperor Vexithor sat on his crystal throne, his 3 eyes scanning the assembled leaders. He looked older than before, the weight of defeat visible in the slump of his shoulders. 400 ships, he said, his voice hollow. "We have lost 400 ships to this pest of a species. How is this possible?" High Counselor Martek stood to speak. She was ancient, even by Caltharian standards, and had served 3 emperors. "The humans fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not follow the conventional rules of warfare. They use tactics that are considered dishonorable by civilized standards." "Dishonorable?" Grand Admiral HFY's voice cut through the chamber. He had been summoned back to explain his failures. "War is not about honor. It is about survival, and the humans understand that better than we do." Vexthor's eyes narrowed. "You defend them?" "I state facts, Excellency." In 3 months of combat, I have learned more about the humans than our intelligence services discovered in years of observation. They are not primitive. They are not weak. They are dangerous. Another council member spoke up, his voice shaking with rage. Then we must send more ships. 5,000, 10,000. We must crush them before they grow stronger. And where will these ships come from? Keshvar asked calmly. We have 8,000 vessels in the entire Imperial Navy. Do you propose stripping defenses from all our systems? What happens when our vassal species see that weakness? The chamber fell silent. It was the question everyone had been avoiding. They already see it, Martek said quietly. Reports are coming in from across the Empire. 3 vassal species have stopped sending their tribute. 2 others have expelled our governors. There are riots on 6 worlds. The humans have shown them that the Empire can be defied. Vex Thor slammed his fist on the armrest of his throne. Then we make an example, not just of humanity, but of all who dare to rebel. Total war. No mercy. Show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the Empire. And if we lose? Keshvar asked. The question was simple, but it hung in the air like a blade. Lose? Vex Thor's laugh was bitter. We cannot lose. We are the Empire. We have ruled for 12,000 years. Every empire falls eventually, Excellency, usually because they refuse to adapt. Keshvar pulled up a tactical display showing the galactic map. Look at our position honestly. We have lost 400 ships. Our vassal species are restless. Our economy is strained from the war effort. And the humans show no signs of surrendering. So you suggest we surrender to them? I suggest we negotiate before our losses become catastrophic. The chamber erupted in shouting. Half the council demanded total war. The other half called for caution. Vex Thor watched the chaos with growing despair. His empire was fracturing before his eyes. On Earth, Ambassador Chen Wei sat in a secure communication room waiting. The encrypted channel had been established 3 days ago through back channels. The person she was about to speak with was someone she never expected. Overseer Dalmon. The hologram flickered to life. Dalmon appeared and Chen was shocked by his appearance. The proud military officer from their first contact was gone. This Dalmon looked haunted, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Ambassador Chen, he said quietly, thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I am surprised you reached out, Chen said. From what I understand, you are living in disgrace. Disgrace is a kind word for it. I lost the first battle. I am blamed for starting this war. But I deserve it. I underestimated your species completely. Chen studied him carefully. Why did you contact me? Dalmon leaned forward, his 3 eyes showing an emotion Chen had not seen in Caltharians before. Genuine concern. Because this war will destroy both our peoples if it continues. The Emperor is planning to send 5,000 ships to your system. Not to conquer. To exterminate. Chen felt ice in her stomach. 5,000? Yes. And even with your impressive defenses, I do not think you can survive such an assault. But here is what the Emperor does not understand. Even if he wins, he loses. The Empire is falling apart. 3 species have already declared independence. More will follow. Your resistance has shown them that the Empire is not invincible. So what do you propose? Peace, not surrender, but genuine peace. A treaty between equals. But I cannot make this happen alone. The Emperor will never agree unless he sees another path. Chen considered carefully. What do you need from us? Show the galaxy that you fight for freedom, not conquest. Send a message to all the vassal species. Tell them you will support their independence. Create a coalition. Make it clear that this is not humans versus the Empire, but freedom versus tyranny. That could work, Chen said slowly. But will your people listen? Dalmon's expression was grim. Some will. Not the Emperor, perhaps. But the Council is divided. Grand Admiral Keshvar already questions the wisdom of continuing this war. If you give the reasonable voices among us something to work with, perhaps we can avoid mutual destruction. After the call ended, Chen immediately contacted Admiral Rivera. Within hours, a message was prepared and broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages. To the people of the galaxy, the message began. Admiral Rivera's face appeared on screens across 100 worlds. I am Admiral Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Fleet. For 3 months, humanity has been at war with the Caltharian Empire. We did not want this war. We asked only to be left in peace. But when threatened with slavery, we chose to fight. He paused, letting the words sink in. We fight not for conquest, but for freedom, not for revenge, but for the right to determine our own future. And we know we are not alone. There are species throughout this galaxy who live under the Empire's rule against their will, who give their resources, their children, their futures to an empire that treats them as property. The message showed images from the battles, carefully edited to show human bravery and sacrifice. We cannot defeat the Empire alone, but we do not have to. If all who desire freedom stand together, the Empire cannot stop us. We offer our support, our friendship, and our alliance to any species that seeks independence. Together, we can build a galaxy where no one is forced to bow, where all species are free to chart their own destiny. The message ended with coordinates for secure communication channels and offers of military and economic support. The response was immediate. Within days, 3 more species declared independence, then 5 more, then 10. The galaxy was awakening and the Empire's hold was slipping. On the Imperial throne world, Vexthor received the reports with mounting horror. They are turning my own vassals against me. This is impossible. This is brilliant strategy, Keshvar said. He had been summoned to the throne room again. The humans understand something we forgot. An empire built on fear lasts only as long as the fear remains. Once that fear breaks, the whole structure collapses. Then we must restore the fear. Authorize the fleet. 5,000 ships. We launch immediately. Keshvar stood silent for a long moment. Then he did something no Caltharian officer had done in 3,000 years. He refused a direct order. No, Excellency. The throne room went silent. Vexthor stared at his Grand Admiral in disbelief. What did you say? I said no. I will not lead 5,000 ships to their destruction. I will not sacrifice a quarter of our navy for your pride. The war is lost, Excellency, not because humanity is stronger, but because they have shown the galaxy that we can be defied. If we continue, the Empire will tear itself apart. Vexthor rose from his throne, trembling with rage. You dare refuse me? I am the Emperor. My word is law. Your word was law, Keshvar said sadly. But empires are built on more than the words of one being. They are built on trust, respect, and mutual benefit. We forgot that, and now we pay the price. He turned and walked toward the door. Guards, Vexthor shouted. Arrest him! Arrest him for treason. The guards did not move. They stood at attention, but their weapons remained lowered, you see? Keshvar said quietly. Even your own guards question you now. The war must end, Excellency. The only question is whether it ends with negotiation or with the Empire's destruction. He left the throne room. Behind him, Emperor Vexthor sat alone on his crystal throne, surrounded by power he could no longer wield. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. The massive Imperial fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system, 5,000 warships stretching across space like a metal ocean. It was the largest military force the galaxy had seen in recorded history. Emperor Vexthor, defying his council's warnings, had authorized the fleet personally. This would be the Empire's final answer to humanity's defiance. Grand Admiral Keshvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display. He had been forced to lead this fleet despite his objections. The alternative was execution for treason. But he felt no pride, only a deep sense of foreboding. All ships report ready, Admiral, his second officer said. Then we proceed, Keshvar said quietly. May history forgive us for what we are about to do. On Earth, Admiral Rivera stood in the Lunar Command Center, surrounded by his officers. The holographic display showed the approaching Imperial fleet in terrible detail. 5,000 ships. Humanity had 280 vessels operational after months of fighting. The mathematics were brutal. Sir, Commander Jackson said, her voice tight, we cannot win this battle. Even with all our advantages, we are outnumbered 20-1. Rivera nodded. I know, but we do not have to win. We just have to survive. And we have one more surprise for them. He opened a channel to all human ships and colonies. This is Admiral Rivera. For 3 months we have fought an empire that thought we were weak. We showed them they were wrong. Today they come with overwhelming force because they have learned to fear us. That fear is our greatest weapon. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Today we show them why you never threaten humanity's home. Protocol deterrent is now active. Across the Sol system something stirred. For 50 years, while humanity explored space and built colonies, they had been preparing for this moment. Secret bases hidden in asteroids, Automated weapons platforms disguised as mining equipment. Dormant systems waiting for activation. Now they woke up. The Empire's fleet entered the outer solar system cautiously. Keshvar had learned from his mistakes. Scout ships spread out in a wide net. Sensors swept constantly for hidden threats. The main fleet advanced in tight formation, shields at maximum. Anything on sensors? Keshvar asked. Negative, Admiral. We detect the human fleet near Earth. 280 ships in defensive formation. No hidden forces detected. Keshvar did not trust it. The humans always had surprises. Proceed carefully. Watch for alarms screamed across every ship simultaneously. Multiple contacts. Thousands of contacts. They are everywhere. The tactical display exploded with red markers. 10,000 autonomous drones activated throughout the solar system. But these were not the simple kinetic missiles from the first battle. These were far more sophisticated. Each drone was equipped with nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers. When their nuclear cores detonated, they directed beams of intense radiation at enemy ships, and there were 10,000 of them. The first wave of drones attacked from every direction. 2,000 nuclear detonations lit up space like newborn stars. The X-ray beams punched through shields and armor, burning into reactors and weapon systems. Keshvar watched in horror as 50 ships vanished from his display in the first 5 seconds. Then 100. Then 200. Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. Get away from the blast zones. But the drones were everywhere. As the fleet tried to disperse, they ran into more automated weapons platforms. Railgun batteries hidden in asteroids opened fire. Missile silos built into the surface of dead moons launched their payloads. The entire solar system had been turned into a fortress. They weaponized their entire star system. Keshvar's tactical officer said in awe. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris. It is all part of their defense network. The human fleet chose that moment to attack. 280 ships accelerated from Earth orbit, their railguns blazing. But they were not alone. Admiral, we have new contacts entering the system. Unknown configurations. Keshvar's heart sank as he saw the new arrivals. 47 ships, none of them human. He recognized the designs. 3 of the Empire's former vassal species. They had come to fight alongside humanity. The Velocians, the Mareth, and the Quinn, his intelligence officer reported, all species that declared independence last month. They have joined the battle. The coalition of free species struck at the Empire's flanks. The Velocians brought powerful energy shields that protected the smaller human vessels. The Mareth had advanced sensor jamming that confused Imperial targeting. The Quinn contributed fighter craft that harassed larger ships. Together, the Allied forces fought with desperate coordination. And all around them, the automated defenses continued their merciless assault. Keshvar made calculations rapidly. He had lost 2,000 ships in the opening hour. The automated defenses were destroying his fleet faster than his weapons could destroy them. And the human tactics combined with their alien allies were devastating his formations. We cannot win this, he said aloud. His second officer stared at him. Admiral? Look at the numbers. We have lost 2,000 ships and barely scratched their defenses. If we continue, we lose the entire fleet. And for what? To destroy one planet? That will not save the Empire. It will only prove that we are monsters. He thought about the thousands of young Keltharian officers and crew under his command. Thought about their families. Thought about the species they were supposedly protecting through the Empire's rule. Open a channel to the human fleet, Keshvar said. I wish to speak with Admiral Rivera. The channel connected. Admiral Rivera appeared on the screen, his uniform scorched, a cut across his forehead. Behind him, his command center showed signs of damage. The humans were not winning easily, but they were winning. Grand Admiral, Rivera said, have you come to offer surrender? Yes, Keshvar said simply. The word felt strange in his mouth. The Empire did not surrender. Except now it did. I surrender my fleet and myself. Under one condition, name it. Guarantee the safety of my crews. They followed orders. They are not responsible for the Empire's decisions. Rivera was quiet for a moment. Agreed. All Keltharian personnel will be treated as prisoners of war under human protection. No reprisals? Then I accept your terms. Keshvar turned to his communications officer. Send to all ships, cease fire. Power down weapons. Prepare to surrender. The battle ended. The largest fleet in Imperial history had been defeated. Not by superior numbers or technology, but by determination, creativity, and the absolute refusal to accept subjugation. On the Imperial throne world, Emperor Vexithor received the news in stunned silence. 5,000 ships sent. 3,000 ships destroyed or captured. The Grand Admiral surrendered. The council convened within hours. This time there was no debate. Emperor Vexithor, High Counselor Martek said formally, "The council has voted. You are removed from power. Effective immediately. The Empire requires new leadership. Leadership that understands the galaxy has changed." Vexithor did not resist. He stood from his crystal throne and walked away, a broken being. 12,000 years of imperial tradition ended with quiet resignation. 6 months later, the Galactic Accord was signed on neutral ground. Ambassador Chen Wei represented humanity. Grand Admiral Keshvar, pardoned by the new Caltharian government, represented the Empire. 23 other species signed as well, all former imperial vassals. The agreement was simple. No species would rule over another. All would have the right to self-determination. A council would mediate disputes, with each species having equal voice regardless of size or military power. Admiral Rivera attended the ceremony in full uniform. He stood beside Overseer Dalmon, who had been instrumental in the peace negotiations. The two warriors who had once faced each other in battle now worked together for a new future. "Do you think it will last?" Dalmon asked quietly. "Peace, I mean." Rivera considered the question. "I think we have learned something important. All of us. The strong are not invincible and the weak are not helpless. Power comes from many sources. Technology, strategy, determination, unity. The Empire forgot that. They believed in dominance alone. And humanity showed us a different path. We showed you what desperation can achieve. But now we must show something else. That free species working together can build something better than any empire." The ceremony concluded with representatives from each species planting native plants from their homeworlds in a garden of unity. It was symbolic, perhaps overly so, but symbols mattered. They gave people something to believe in. As the delegates departed, Chen Wei found Rivera standing alone, looking at Earth through the station's observation window. "Thinking about what we lost?" she asked. 5,000 sailors, 20 colonies damaged, 50 years of resources spent on weapons we hoped never to use. Rivera shook his head. "Yes, we won, but the cost was terrible. It would have been worse if we surrendered. I know. That is what makes it bearable. We chose freedom knowing the price, and we paid it." He turned to face her. "But now we have a different responsibility. We inspired others to seek freedom. We must help them keep it," Chen Wei smiled. "The Free Species Coalition. I like the sound of that. It is not perfect. There will be challenges, conflicts, difficult decisions, but it is better than the alternative."